I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Federal Judge Lewis Kaplan in the Southern District of New York is not playing around when it comes to Donald Trump's antics before him in his federal courtroom. Now, you'll recall Judge Lewis Kaplan is the judge who's presiding over the defamation lawsuit that was filed by Carroll against Donald Trump, the one back from 2019, as well as the two new causes of action in Carroll's new lawsuit, a new claim for defamation based on Donald Trump's very similar defamatory conduct to that which he made in 2019. He made it again on his social media platform on October 12th of 2022, and Carroll brought that new defamation claim, as well as Carroll's claim for civil rape and sexual assault against Donald Trump based on New York passing a statute, also known as a revival statute, which revived the statute of limitations. It's called the Adult Survivors Act, giving survivors of sexual assault whose statute of limitations expired 1 year from November 5th of 2022 to bring a lawsuit for sexual assault if their statute of limitations had previously expired. Now, Judge Lewis Kaplan, we reported about this previously on the MeidasTouch Network, had denied Donald Trump's motion to dismiss the new claims brought by Carroll under the Adult Survivors Act and the new defamation claim. It was a very scathing order issued by Judge Lewis Kaplan there. Also, Judge Lewis Kaplan ordered that the deposition transcripts from Donald Trump's deposition that was taken in connection with the case that was attached to the case management statement that was submitted by the parties, that those deposition transcripts be released. Of course, we reported about that here on the MeidasTouch Network. And now, in addition to those two orders, where Judge Lewis Kaplan said that Donald Trump's arguments, one, to keep deposition transcripts sealed, and his motion to dismiss were wholly without merit, to basically use the words or paraphrase from Judge Lewis Kaplan. Now, what Judge Lewis Kaplan has filed in the court docket was an order for the parties to respond as trial approaches, okay? And trial scheduled for April. I want you to think about that. Donald Trump is set to go to trial in federal court in New York. He's going to have to show up. He's going to have to be there for his testimony. He's going to have to answer the questions that he responded to miserably in his deposition, which we reported about here on the MeidasTouch Network. But as trial approaches in April, what Judge Lewis Kaplan is asking for is for the parties to submit briefs about how can we minimize attempts to try to influence the jury or to try to basically turn this courtroom into a circus? What Judge Lewis Kaplan recognizes is that Donald Trump is undoubtedly going to post social media messages. So what he's really inviting here, and I'm going to read the order for you in just one moment, is for the parties to suggest perhaps there be some limited gag order that takes place, which would restrict Donald Trump from threatening people and attacking people and commenting about the case on his social media platform. So let's pull up this new order that was released by Judge Lewis Kaplan. And here's what it says. It says, any application to adopt measures to prevent or minimize the risk of any events that could inappropriately influence jurors that may be impaneled in this case, as well as prospective jurors, whether by impaneling the jury anonymously or otherwise, shall be filed on or before February 7th, 2023. Any response to such motion shall be filed on or before February 14th, 2023. Any reply in support thereof shall be filed on or before February 17th, 2023. So again, the judge on his own initiative, which in law we call that sua sponte, is asking the parties to submit their proposed measures to try to prevent or minimize the risk of any events that could inappropriately influence the jurors. And one of the things the judge suggests too is, how do we keep the jury anonymous, knowing that Donald Trump will probably be attacking members of the jury as well? Judge Lewis Kaplan is signaling that this case is going to trial. Don't you think for a moment, Donald Trump and Alina Habba and your team, that you are going to somehow wiggle out of this case or delay it? Nope. We're getting ready to select a jury. We want the jury to feel comfortable, and all of the circus-like stuff that you try to do, it ain't happening in Judge Lewis Kaplan's court. I also wonder as well if Donald Trump violates a gag order, if he starts threatening the judge like he's often does. I mean, Judge Lewis Kaplan isn't taking crap from anyone, and I expect, and I wouldn't be shocked, go back to this video after the trial or in a month or two, I wouldn't be surprised if Donald Trump is eventually held in contempt in this or any of the other proceedings, because he's obviously not going to agree to a gag order, even if one is put in place. Heck, one of the frivolous arguments that Donald Trump made to try to keep his deposition testimony sealed, he argued, the only reason I gave my deposition is I thought it was going to be kept confidential. I thought all of these proceedings were confidential. Judge Lewis Kaplan says, well, that's completely BS. That makes no sense. In our protective order here, it specifically says this is a public court. You can try to designate things as confidential, but that doesn't mean they will remain confidential if you are inappropriately classifying things as confidential. So Judge Lewis Kaplan isn't having it at all. And one other sign that we know Judge Lewis Kaplan isn't having it at all, and the fact that Donald Trump's lawyers are getting it. And this is why you got to just be very powerful when you speak to these traitors like Trump, because they're cowards. And sometimes they only respond to that. And they'll whine and they'll moan and they'll go into all of the tactics of malignant narcissists. But you just got to say, nope. You got to say, absolutely not. We are not doing that at all. So Donald Trump's lawyer said, look, based on your prior ruling, releasing the deposition transcripts where you slammed us and basically said it was without merit, we don't feel that we could even object anymore to releasing the other portions of the deposition. So we are also going to get new portions of Donald Trump's deposition there. So a lot of information will be coming out. Undoubtedly, Donald Trump's mind is going to explode as he reads this order and as he proceeds to trial on a civil rape charge. Not going to be able to get it dismissed, not going to be able to delay it, on 2 defamation counts. And one thing to just keep you briefly updated as well, because we don't have the order just at this moment, but we're pretty confident what the order is going to be. So on one of the issues regarding the 2019 defamation, not the 2022 defamation, which there's no chance Donald Trump can get that dismissed. Because Donald Trump made the 2019 defamatory acts while he was the president, he had made an argument that partially succeeded in the Second Circuit Court of Appeals under what's called the Westfall Act, that his statement occurred while he was a federal government official. But what the Second Circuit said is, we want the D.C. Court of Appeals, the highest court in Washington, D.C., to answer a question we're going to certify to it about whether or not the conduct occurred within the course and scope of Donald Trump acting as a federal employee. If it does, Donald Trump would have immunity because the federal government hasn't waived their sovereign immunity regarding defamation claims. It's a little bit complicated, but if the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that Trump's conduct was in the course and scope of his employee, that one claim ends. Not the 2022 claim, not the civil rape claim. So just one claim for defamation. But what the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals said is, we're not here to determine the facts. That's for a jury. After a jury rules, we can then look at what the jury says was in the course and scope. We'll listen to that, but we're not fact finders as the Court of Appeals. So that indicates to me that this case, that even that claim is going to go before a jury. But we will see, and we will keep you posted, of course, here. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hit the subscribe button. We're on our way to 1 million subscribers thanks to your awesome support. And as well, check us out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. You will love the exclusive content we have on our Patreon, but most importantly, it helps grow this independent media platform. Until next time, I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hit subscribe, and thank you very much.
At MeidasTouch, MeidasTouch, we are unapologetically pro-democracy, and we demand justice and accountability. That's why we're spreading our message to Convict 45. That's right, gear up right now with your Convict 45 tees and pins at store.meidastouch.com. That's store.meidastouch.com.